sort of tie it in and get a little bit of recording done with the man himself. So let's get straight into it, Nath. Tell me a little bit about how your season's going. So it's obviously on the outside looking in, it looks amazing.
No, it's been really good. We started the season on fire, probably up until just after Christmas. We were like pretty much untouchable in the sense that I think we maybe lost 1 or 2 games. There's only a couple of draws in there as well, and we just went on absolute fire. And then turn of the year, we lost a few players through whether it was injury or loans coming to an end, and it just sort of upset the apple cart a little bit. It sort of went on not the greatest of runs, and into the confidence a little, and it really affected us. So we found ourselves, I don't know the sort of stat itself, but it was a lot of games where we didn't pick up 3 points at all, and we found ourselves slip away from the top of the table. But touch wood, we're back in form, 7 out of 7 last couple of games, and it's gone really, really well. We've put ourselves in a really promising position with 3 games to go, and hopefully we can get across the line in that first or second spot. Automatic promotion is the aim.
That's the way to go, isn't it? I know you like Wembley now, but it's not ideal. Not ideal going playoff finals again if you can help it.
No, it's not good for the heart at all, that whole setup. So it's not for me again.
No. So what's been the difference between season 1 and season 2, do you think? Because last season you finished top half of the table, but not playoffs.
The manager made a couple more additions, but I said it all the way through last season. If we didn't get into the playoffs, it would have been a good learning curve for the younger players. We've got a few sort of lads that have come through the academy or have come in from other clubs, but were only sort of off the back of 1 season in League One. So they needed sort of a year to acclimatise and get used to it, and it set us up really, really well for this year. Manager strengthened quite well over the summer. He probably brought in 4 players that have gone straight into the team and hit the ground running, and it's set us up nicely. I look back at the time I was at Swindon, it was very similar here. We had a season where we probably finished 8th or 9th with a young squad, and the following season they were able to learn from the mistakes they've made previously and put it into practice, and we got to the playoff final. So I do think it's important if you can keep a nucleus of your team together, add a little bit more to it over the summer, it gives you such a fresh impetus the next season.
Yeah. So I remember when you first moved there, it happened to be one of your games was on the TV almost straight away. And actually it's funny because that's the first time Tor watched you play apart from at the county ground, and she didn't know you as well then. And I remember that you got nudged off the ball, foul, stood up, and the guy was stood over the ball, and you just shoved him, just pushed him 2 hands in the chest or 1 hand or whatever, straight off. And Tor was like, Nathan, what's that? And I was like, there's 2 Nathans that you need to know. So it's very different on the pitch. But I said to you, I texted you after the game, I remember saying that I think you and Jamal on the right was going to be dynamite. And that's come true, right? He's killing it in the minute.
He's been an absolute fire for us. I've always felt as though my position at right back, I try to give the platform to those that are playing in front. So I'm not doing anything special. I just try to do the basics really well, and then give the player that's playing in front of me the best opportunity to keep serving the ball. They're better at attacking than me. I'm better at defending than them. To stick to what your strengths are and play to their strengths, and hopefully you're able to build up that relationship. And we've done that really well over the course of this season. As I said, he's been an absolute fire for us. You can't legislate for the fact that he's going to score 14 to 15 goals. I think what it is. I think he's got similar. It's about 10 or 11 assists as well, and that. And I can give the ball as much as you don't ever expect to have that sort of return. But when you've got the pace and power and strength that he's got, it plays into it. It's so perfect for this club and for Portsmouth. And yeah, it's ideal to play behind as well.
Does it feel weird saying younger players?
I think I'm accustomed to it now. It's funny because when I was at Swindon, I was 24 years old and I was still saying younger players. The team was full of younger players. Like, I was already like an experienced older player. So now I've got to my age and I find myself on the older team. When we do sort of small-sided games, we do young v old. And it is a sort of strange feeling, but it's one I've probably got used to over the years, that's for sure.
Yeah. And also, for those that don't know, Nathan's a dad now, so massive congrats on that first off.
Thank you.
How's little man? Good?
He is, yeah. He's growing up so quickly, it's crazy.
Love it. Bless him. So let's go through. I want to. I said to you before we went on air, I want step by step the entire Wembley experience. So Nathan just won the Checker Trade Trophy for Portsmouth against Sunderland. It couldn't have been more dramatic, I think it's fair to say. Penalties, 5-4 win. You were due to take number 6, and actually were slated to take number 5 originally, right? So just from the start to finish, what is that as a player, that entire experience around? What's it feel like?
It's an incredible feeling. It's first and foremost the feeling of getting to Wembley, to know that you'll be able to walk out in front of, in that terms it was 85,000 fans, is the most incredible. It's a dream come true, really. I think every child dreams of playing, walking out in front of the National Stadium. So that goes back to when we played, I think it was Bury in the semi-finals. We got through and it was like, this is incredible, straight away we're going to be playing at Wembley. Then the days leading up to it, it's the build-up, it's the getting all the tickets sorted, it's getting the all of the logistics behind it. And the manager was very good in sort of saying, right, from Monday to Wednesday, so we actually played on Sunday, so Monday to Thursday, you sort out the logistical side of things. But once Thursday comes or Friday comes, maybe, I don't want to hear any more about tickets, I don't want to hear any more about the setup, and we just solely focus then on the game. And it's the first time I've been to Wembley, it's the 4th time now, and thankfully it's the first time I won there, but it was the first time a manager sort of put it like that. It was, this half of the week is pure logistics, and then the second half of the week is purely let's focus on it. And you went into the game with real clarity, knew what you were doing. And we went up on the Saturday. Most teams tend to do like a sort of a tour of the stadium, just so that when you turn up on the Sunday on game day, you're not in awe anymore. Yeah. You're accustomed to your surroundings, you visualise whatever you need to visualise, and you know exactly what you expect the next day. So we did that. We stayed at the hotel, basically across the road, stone's throw from the stadium, and it was a strange one in that sense, because when I'd been there previously, we'd stayed in central London, we'd stayed on the outskirts of London, so to stay right next to the stadium, you were like really immersed in the atmosphere before you'd even got to game day, which was a little bit different, but it was fantastic as well, because you open the curtains. I remember opening them on the Sunday morning, and you just see in Wembley Way and all in around it, just the buzz of that final, Checker Trade final day. Like it was really, really lively. And I went down to the lobby to just see a couple of friends that were coming to the game, and the buzz around the place was mad. Like you just felt a real sort of good carnival atmosphere, and it made, like thinking back to it now, it makes the hairs in the back of my arms and neck stand up. It was a real sort of exciting, nervous atmosphere. I went back up to the room. I said to my roommate, I was like, I am quite nervous for this. But then you turn up at the stadium, you start to see it fill up. You hear your name over the tannoy, and the atmosphere really starts to build, and it's so surreal. I mean, even our assistant manager, he had to bring a whistle so that when he's calling us in, just in the warm-up, because the noise can be so loud and that you're not even hearing it. It builds up and builds up. And then the walking out, the national anthem, all the sort of pyrotechnics, the fire going off and stuff like this is just insane. It's incredible feeling. And as I say, it's something that, but when I was at Swindon, it was something I was so proud to do, walk out in front of the team. But that feeling of even just, I walk out, I like 5th in the queue, even walking out 5th is the best feeling in the world. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's a dream come true, and something that I will never ever forget.
I remember sitting in the stand thinking, like when you walked out, you obviously, you count them out and you're spotting you. And I'm looking there going, what on earth your heart rate must be like right now? Like when you've been cheered at, and as soon as you enter the stadium, like as soon as you enter the pitch, fans go mad anyway. But like, I can't imagine like a wall of noise like that. I'm thinking, I got to perform now. Like, it must be such an odd feeling.
It is.
To calm yourself.
It is strange. I think the fact that I've done it previously probably helped. It settled nerves slightly, and I really tried to sort of soak it up this time and absorb it. I think last time, deep down subconsciously, I knew that I was coming back from an injury, and don't get me wrong, I thought the injury at the time was perfectly fine, but at the same time, I also know I was only 2 weeks down the line from a grade 2 hamstring tear, so that sort of played on my mind a little bit maybe, and I wasn't able to soak up and take in the atmosphere as much. This time I really sort of puffed my chest out and just sort of tried to soak it up, and at the end of the day, it's during that time, before the whistle's gone, and it's like, you can't do anything wrong.
No.
So, do you know what I mean? It's probably the most relaxed you can be. At least once you take the bit and you make mistakes and that, people are criticising you, but and the woman singing the national anthem, like, yeah, exactly, I'm chilled. So, no, it is a surreal feeling, but one of the best feelings in the world, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it can be topped by 82nd minute. Talk me through that.
Man. So it was something that we'd not so much worked on, but looked at the fact that getting in around the back post, the amount of, you'll see it now that I highlighted, the amount of chances that are created, crosses coming from the back from one side of the pitch, and they just seem to go out the back post. And I looked at it and there's opportunities to sneak in if your winger switches off, and there's an opportunity to sneak in. Anyway, I'd seen the build up on the left side. It's the 82nd minute. We had nothing to lose. It's a playoff. It's a final, sorry. And I just thought, stuff it. And you just get in the box, and even if I don't get on the end of it, it sometimes causes a bit of a melee. Especially goalkeepers go up for corners. They don't ever really expect to score, but they cause a little bit of panic. The defender's not expecting that. So I just thought, let's see what happens, and the ball come in, and I managed to time my run really well. I managed to get ahead of the left back who was stationary, and whenever that's the case, you're on the run, they're stationary, you're always going to beat them in the air. I just timed it really, really well. Back across the keeper and into the corner of the net, and the feeling from after, it was just something else, like the noise, the emotion, the passion, that I just knew that all my family and friends were in the stands watching, and it was going to be like the most incredible feeling ever. So it is a blur. I've had to watch it back since, just to take in like the actual goal itself. It's difficult to really remember at the time. But
does it feel like you watching it back?
No, it's strange. It is. It's like I've probably watched it about 6 or 7 times now, so it's hit home at last. But it is a very, very strange feeling, and one that I'm certainly I'm not going to delete that video on that recording, that's for sure.
There's a handful of players that have ever scored at Wembley. Like that was what was going through my head, because you nearly scored 5 minutes before that.
Yeah, should have scored. If I'm honest, like I look back at the chance and I think to myself, like if I was a striker, you would be furious that you haven't scored that opportunity. Do you know what I mean? And I think you get away with it a little bit as a right back or defender, but to be part of that crew that has scored there is incredible feeling, a little bit of history, and to do it in front of 85,000 people as well is just very surreal.
It's crazy. I looked down the line because I was sitting next to Danny, and then further along from him was Wimble, and he brought his kid with him, and we were chatting away, and you nearly scored. I said, God, can you imagine if you scored? And then later, 5 minutes on, you scored, and it just, place went, Matt, I looked up, pretty sure your dad started crying, fairly certain, and Charlie was like fist pumping like I've never seen, like she was going mad, and you just kind of go, that is, I think you're so separated from it when you watch football, because you don't know the players, but when you know a player and they do something like that, you kind of go, Jesus, this is like the ripple effect that has on family, friends, and I'm getting text messages from people, like, do you know what I mean? And that's not your closest family, so that's just crazy. Like,
this is it. I think as well, though, you're probably seeing it because of all the struggles that you go through as well. You look at when you see it on TV and you don't know them personally, you don't know the story behind it and everything. I look back at the last time I visited Wembley and it was the worst feeling I've ever had on a football pitch. So to be able to say it was the best feeling I had on a football pitch 4 or 5 years later is strange, and yeah, emotions were just everywhere. And you're right, it did bring my dad tears, it brought my mum, friends that come to the game. It just sends you crazy.
It's a beautiful 180.
Yeah.
Like it really, it's real poetic to be there 4 years ago, whatever it was, and see you come off 5 minutes in. Like it wasn't a mistake. You should have walked out because you walked the team out and you led the team out. Like that meant a huge amount to the team. So I think it wasn't a mistake, and it's the last game or whatever it was of the season or close to it. But at the same time, sort of look at it and go, that poor kid has worked so hard and doesn't get to finish this game. So to come back and do that and lift the trophy, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. I couldn't have written it better myself. I'm so thankful. And they say, don't they, that you go through those struggles to really appreciate the good times and stuff. And we certainly, as a family as well, with Lou as well, we've certainly experienced enough struggles, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, to try and savour those moments the best you can is the perfect scenario.
On that, I'm going to bring up another. That you come down to Fratton Park fairly recently, sat with your dad, watched the game. You were playing Bradford. So 5-1 win, and you go up, and it just seems like an innocuous header to me and to your dad. It didn't look like anything, and then you lose 2 teeth. So you're going to go again. Those lads often, because of effort you put in or whatever, just seem to have sometimes a bad run. And it makes it even more sweeter when you go to someone like that and get rewarded for it.
I think we've had our fair share of injuries and setbacks and it's so much so that it's driven my mum to despair, bless her. She can't even watch the game. It's just simply because she's not only had it with me, she's had it with Lou, and it's been really tough for her. So
did she see you score?
I don't think she did. No, she didn't. She took the little man off, and I think she was even changing it. And it was only when it come over the tannoy, she's like, "No, I surely not." The school, they must have got that wrong. There must be enough of Nathan Thompson. But no, she, bless her heart, she tries so hard. But I think, as you say, it's football so up and down. It's such a roller coaster that she just doesn't. She can't deal with those lows anymore. It's just been too tough for her.
That's fair. So you bring up Lou. He's now on the cusp of becoming a Premier League player. So Norwich are pretty much guaranteed to go up, it's fair to say. And how is he now feeling on the sort of dawn of doing that?
I think it's the best I've seen him in a long time. As I said, you talk about highs and lows, and there is no better feeling than that promotion and being part of that. It's been tough for Lou because when you're not involved in a team, we had it in League Two when Swindon got promoted to League Two, and I was very much a bit part player in that. And you see all the celebrations, and you don't feel as part of it as you'd like to. And I think Lou's got that same feeling now. Of course, he's absolutely over the moon that his club are going to be Premier League, but it's also a bit spill to swallow to see everyone around you playing their part and him not maybe being able to do as much as he would like to. But at the same time, he's back from injury, and touch wood, he really sees an upturn in his fortune now because he deserves it. He's worked harder than anyone I know, and to be able to persevere and to have the mental strength to come back from the setbacks that he's had. I say to him all the time, he's an inspiration to me because I know whenever I've had an injury, how much it damages you psychologically, those little setbacks. For him to have back-to-back Achilles ruptures,
that's unreal.
It's just for him to carry on going and keep having the motivation to drive that. Yeah, I think he's an inspiration.
I was more worried about him mentally than physically on the second one because I was like, okay, well, you fix it again physically. However, to go through 9 months of rehab or whatever it was he had to go through and then go through that immediately again, that's so rough.
I don't think until you're in football, or at least sort of very, very close to it, you can appreciate how difficult it is to sit on the sidelines or sit in the gym when every one of your teammates are going out to warm up, and it's the hardest things. Once I think everyone, don't get me wrong, when you have one weekend off, you may appreciate it, but then the second weekend, third weekend, like, he was out for 9 months. Do you know what I mean? That's a lot of weekends that he's not able to do what he loves and to get that sort of enjoyment out of going out onto a pitch and the thrill that he's been having since he was 5, 6 years old. So I think he'll be the first to admit it was very, very tough mentally. But as I say, he's a credit to himself because he keeps going, he keeps fighting, and even when he comes back from an Achilles rupture, his second Achilles rupture, he plays for a couple of months and then does a shoulder dislocation. Like, it's just beyond your worst nightmare, but he's still able to keep going, and that's why I take my hat off to him. Yeah,
good for him. And do you know what, he's probably landed at the perfect club for him in terms of that, because I know that they called him immediately and said, we love you, we want you, and don't worry, just get yourself right, which is amazing as a player to have that security.
Oh, without a doubt, I think in this industry, it's ruthless. Players are like pieces of meat, and I think we've all accepted that now. And I think Lou will be the first to admit that if Norwich were to say, we're not so sure, we're going to have to let you see what happens at the end of the season, he would have probably taken the chin, but they were like, no, we really believe in you, we think what you've done is, in the time that you've been back fit, was really impressive. They give him a new contract and stuff like that. It was a huge nod of appreciation, and I think he's eternally grateful for that, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm going to paint you a scenario. They go up to the Premier League, and he says, look, I want to be part of Norwich, but I want 1 season on loan at Portsmouth. How does that feel?
Incredible. It'll be an interesting one because obviously I think he'll be the first to admit that to get into a Premier League team is tough. Yeah. So we'll have to see what the summer holds for him in that sense, and whether when he goes back in, whether or not he's in their plans. But yeah, to have him back alongside me would be insane. It really, really would. I mean,
do you appreciate the time you had together? Like, do you look back at it and think, did I really grasp the fact that I was playing with my brother for all those years?
I think we were fortunate because he left, come back. So he signed for Norwich, and a part of the deal was that he come back on loan instantly. So we were able to save a little bit. Then he left again, and then come back again. So I think both times we were like, right, we really need to make the most of this. If the first time he signed for Norwich, he said like, that's that, and that's that, we've done that, then we wouldn't have savoured the moments, and I would have kicked myself for that. But thankfully, he had the opportunity to come back, and we did play each other again. But that's not to say that I would still absolutely love to be able to go in every day with him, train every day. He's my best friend, do you know what I mean, in that sense. So it would be incredible to see him back alongside him, for sure.
You've never played against him, have you?
No. I mean, it was meant to this season. For one reason or other, it didn't work out. We were both injured at the time, and yeah, talk about my mum, I don't know what she would have been like that day, that's for sure.
Buried her head in the sand. So I've kind of gone back into talking about your kind of Swindon days. What's your kind of memories of playing for Swindon? Highs and lows?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was captain of a club that I've grown up at, and there's a great honor, if I'm honest, than being able to be captain the team, to walk a team out, whether it's at Wembley, whether that was at Wimbledon. There's no better feeling, and yeah, I was very, very proud to say I was able to do that. I had a really good relationship with the fans, with the management, with a lot of people at that club. So they're always the first result I look for on a Saturday. And I'll always have a very, very high opinion of my time at that club. It was tough at the end because for one reason or another we just didn't get it right in that final season, and it was my worst nightmare to be a captain of the club and taken down. Do you know what I mean? It was tough to take, and it's always, I don't like to say I have regrets, but it's something that didn't sit comfortably with me. a team relegated, and I see them now still in League Two, and I really hope that they would just bounce straight back up. And I guess it's not as easy as that, as a lot of teams that would admit that. It took Portsmouth, who were in the Premier League probably even sooner than Swindon in that sense, like a couple of seasons to get back up. So it was not easy to go. It was not easy to leave him in that position. But I just felt at the time I'd spent the best part of 8-9 years there, and I think every player would be the first to admit they want to try and play as high as possible. And at the time, Portsmouth come in and they really pushed them to get into the Championship, and ultimately that's where I'm desperate to play. So it was an offer that I couldn't turn down, even though it was so difficult to leave Swindon behind.
Yeah. So do you feel, having seen, so let's cast it back to when you were out at Wembley, that team seemed to me pretty stacked in terms of players that left. Gladwin, Masluongo, obviously Lou left. So you'd had Foderingham, so it was a good squad. Now that seemed to get systematically pulled apart, and players left for whatever reason, whether it was contracts or whether it was sales or whatever. Do you feel like you stayed too long? Would you have wanted to go earlier?
No, I don't feel I stayed too long. I felt as though I had unfinished business, in the sense that you got so close. Listen, everyone left because they want to play as high as possible. There's no denying that. And you had lads capable of playing the Championship now week in, week out, more than capable of holding their own, probably even at a level above for some of them. So they had to do what they had to do, and at the time I felt that the following season, with the style of play that we had, and I didn't foresee us not finishing in a strong position. I remember sitting down with the chairman and he was saying, listen, we're going to bring this player to the club, this player. And even the team the following season, like Ben Gladwin come back and Lou come back, and Nicky Jose, and you just don't know, this team's still more than capable. Nathan, but when they left, I think actually he started the season, but he actually left in the August, so he didn't actually last.
To Wolves, right?
He was, yeah. So there was still more than enough potential in the team to get promoted. As I say, as a captain, that was my dream, to get a team promoted. So I try not to have regrets. It was disappointing that we didn't ever get to where we needed to be, but you can be a victim of your own success at times, and the fact that we come so close, when you start to do that, bigger clubs start to circle and they do cherry pick your best players in that sense. So it is always tough at this level to keep successful squads together.
Yeah.
It's not impossible. So yeah, it was disappointing, but at the end of the day, that's football.
So if Swindon had gone up, do you hold on to those players?
Yeah, without doubt. But at the end of the day, you can't hold them against their wishes.
No,
You know what I mean? You look at Massimo, you look at Nathan, but both of them playing week in, week out in the Championship now, and to ask them to stay another year at Swindon would have been wrong.
Yeah, and I think, to be fair as well, even if it's not a higher league, if it's the same league but the stature of the club, like you look at playing at Sheffield Wednesday or playing at Wigan or look at Portsmouth. Like if Swindon stayed up but you'd have gone to Portsmouth, you're playing in front of 20,000 fans every week.
Yeah, there is that. Maybe at times you fall in love with a club. I fully fell in love with Swindon, and I loved everything about the people that were there, the players that were there. I had a really good relationship with the fans and stuff. So yeah, at times your heart can pull your head slightly. But when the likes of a Portsmouth, the stature of that, I mean, you only have to look at the turnout they got when we went to Wembley the other day. It's just set a new record, 85,000 fans. It's outrageous when you think of the playoff final, probably a more important game as such. I think it got 50,000. That's not to knock the Swindon fans by any stretch, but it just goes to show you the size of the club that you're dealing with in League One. Portsmouth are probably a bigger club than the League One football club, that's for sure.
Yeah.
They deserve to be in the Championship just simply because of the stature of the club.
Yeah.
So that's a big reason behind why I signed down there, and I fully believe that hopefully we can turn what's been up until now a really successful season into an even better season.
Yeah. Now, touch wood, you've been pretty much injury free since being there, which is amazing. So that's great. What do you attribute that to? You've been training differently, eating differently. What's the story?
I think as you get older, you know how to manage your body slightly better. You learn from mistakes that you made previously. I probably felt at the time when I was at Swindon, I rushed back, whether that was the medical department sort of they may have been getting pressure from above to try and get me back on the pitch at times, but I think when I look back, I should have been more forceful that actually no, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to go back on the pitch, and you learn from those mistakes. Now you sort of I know how to recover better. I know how to make sure that if I don't feel right, I'm addressing it properly rather than just trying to get on with it and fight through it, because ultimately you do get found out in that sense.
Yeah. And your diet that's always a topic of conversation when we chat about bits and pieces. How is that, and what sort of thing are you following right now?
I just cut out meat. It was the start of last season. It was literally the second day I'd signed for Portsmouth, and you talk about low setbacks and that sort of thing. I remember the car journey home. I still had my house in Swindon, so I was driving in, and Charlie, my wife, would pick me up from training. I don't think I spoke for about an hour in the car journey because it was another really low moment, but I'd literally signed, and it was my second day in training, and re-ruptured the plantar fascia that I'd done at Swindon. And I spoke to a couple of lads that were at Portsmouth at the time and just talked to them, and they mentioned that they were vegan and they'd had an incredible, it was actually Danny Rose and Carl Bennett, which strangely are both at Swindon now.
Yeah.
But they said about they going vegan and stuff like this, and that's a huge step to take. I was a big meat eater, love fish, and to cut both of that out of my diet was a big step. So I took a baby step in the sense of taking meat out of my diet, kept the fish, and I felt really, really good for it. So the lads jump on me at football for just saying like, I'm a fake vegan and stuff like this.
You created your own thing, didn't you?
Yeah, see, this is it. But no, it worked for me, and at the end of the day, that's what you've got to just find ways of feeling better, and that seemed to, as I say, it seemed to work for me.
Yeah. How is the camaraderie at Portsmouth on the cusp of potentially going up this year?
Yeah, it's flying. I think any dressing room that's doing well, the bank is flying. The place is a great place to be. You can't wait to be back in training. You can't wait for the next game. Conversely, when it's the shoes on your foot and you're down the bottom end of the table, it's a little bit more of a quiet place to be, shall we say, and you don't enjoy going in as much. So, yeah, it's ultimately the fact that we are winning at the end of the day gives a real feel-good vibe, and the whole city's bouncing at the moment. I think it's basking the fact that we've been successful at Wembley. It give a little bit of silverware in the cupboard, and then cupboard or the cabinet.
Put in the cupboard.
Just throw that big trophy in the cupboard. Yeah, no problem at all. No, in the cabinet, and hopefully, as I say, we can get what we ultimately. The reason I signed down in Portsmouth for is to get into the Championship, which is 3 wins away. Really, when you look at it like that, it's really not far.
It's not long. So the big one, and again, I'm unlikely to get this out by this weekend, but I will get it out by the end of the season. Sunderland's a big game. So riding off the high of beating them at Wembley, now you've got to go to Sunderland and beat them there.
Yeah.
So that's the big one.
It is, and I said it in the aftermath of the Wembley game, is that I wonder what it would do to them psychologically, and I think at the time they were maybe 3 points ahead of us before Wembley, or once they won their game in hand, maybe they were 3 points ahead of us. Now we're 2 points ahead of them, and you don't know what the Wembley game did to them, or you don't know if it's just fatigue. They've played a lot of games this month. It's finally caught up with them, and they've dropped points at a time where you can't afford to drop points. But I think we now go to Stadium of Light on Saturday, firmly believing that we can do the league double over them. They will know that the Wembley game will play on their minds, and I think even when you go 1-0, they go, if they were to go 1-0 up, they will firmly remember that we come back and we were actually 2-1 up for a period of that game. So yeah, it'll be interesting, but in terms of importance, it is huge, absolutely massive, and one we are desperate to win.
Yeah. What sort of, I asked you this after Wembley, what sort of mind games are going on the pitch? Like, you tend to be a bit of a protagonist at times. So you had, who's the guy, he bumped you over and then shouted at the ref and shouted at you, and I forget the name. Magidi. So he, by the way, he shouting to the ref, he's got you on toast, is now a key phrase in the Gatherum household. So I loves that one. So do you obviously don't set out to do that, but competitive nature takes over, and are you constantly in like mental warfare with people? Like, how does?
I think so. I think you have to. It's so ingrained in you that to win, like you win at all costs, and that's not. I'm not saying it's cheating. You just find ways of, they call it dark arts, I guess, of just getting a little psychological edge, and that's why the crowd try to antagonise players on the pitch by giving them the abuse. I can't so much give players abuse, but you do little things that just annoy them and hopefully throw them off their game slightly. And that little foul that he lost his head over, it's something that I've done for a period of time. It's not cheating. I don't see it as cheating, as others may disagree. But it's buying a foul that is maybe soft and it's maybe a little bit cheaper than other players would want to give away a foul for. But you just have to do what you have to do to get the result. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's across any sport. If you're going to succeed in any walk of life, you've got to be willing to
find the edge.
Exactly.
So can I ask you about the Oxford incident?
And again, this is exactly the same thing. I sort of said to the lad before he was taking the penalty, "You're going to miss this." Like, I know you're going to, and just constantly planting that seed of doubt in his mind. And then once he did miss it, because I've done that to other players, and then they've tucked it in the bottom corner, and they turn around and they give me all sorts of sceneries that you just have to sort of hang your head and shame. But at this point, I mean, he missed it, and I was a little bit sort of overzealous in my celebration, but it was just passion, I think. Maybe the background of the Swindon and the whole sort of, that maybe overcome me a little bit. But then his reaction, which I just thought was a little bit over the top. At the end of the day, you get people shouting left, right and centre at you from the crowd. So the fact that he swung his hand like that, slapped me across the face, I thought was childish from him in that sense, and he got sent off. I know the Swindon fans, a lot of them commented.
Love it.
Yeah, a lot of the Oxford fans give me some serious abuse for it, but that's part of us.
Of course it is. And also, if at least someone doesn't hate you in a sport, you're probably not doing it right to any real level, right?
It's funny because I only had this conversation with some friends out down this weekend, and he said, like, if you're not being spoken about, you've been forgotten.
Yeah.
And I mean, you don't want to be forgotten. So, yeah, I'm always one. I'm more than old enough now and experienced enough to shoulder any abuse, any people talking badly. It's just a fickle industry. It's 1 minute you can be the worst person in the world, worst player in the world, and the next week you score a goal at Wembley and everyone's singing and dancing and loving you. So yeah, that's football, and that's, as I say, I'm experienced enough to accept that now.
How do you navigate like social media and stuff like that? Do you dip into that or leave it?
Tend to leave it, just because you can read 100 comments that are positive and then read one and it's negative, and the negative one that stays in your mind. I've learned that since I was a young lad, and it's not nice. No one wants to read negative press about themselves. It's human nature. So I just tend to stay clear. I'll post now and again if I feel a real need to. But yeah, on the whole, I don't get me wrong. I will like go on and flick through and have a look at things that interest me in terms of we were having that conversation about the mobility, trainers and stuff like that. But on the whole, I'm certainly not reading any of my own press or any of the comments and stuff like that.
It's got to be. I always think it's a real weird one. Like, especially football seems to be. I can't think of another sport that is that hot and cold in terms of people's love and hatred and whatever. I really can't. Like, but if you look at, I remember when you first signed to Portsmouth, and they released something, and the comments on there, and some of it's like, oh well, you better be better than such and such, or he's got big shoes to fill, or whatever it might be, and you kind of go, well, and then 2 weeks into the season, they're all over you, they love you. Like, it's a strange world.
It is, and that's why I say you have to sort of steer clear of it. It was, I think after the Charlton game we'd lost, and I say I don't go on it, but there'll be occasions where I'll get a notification, and I've turned it off actually since, but I got a notification come through. Actually no, tell a lie, it was the Wembley game. It was really funny because I thought I turned it off, and for some reason I had a notification come through, and it was the photo of me walking out on the pitch at Wembley before the game. So as I say, we were having our stadium tour, and someone tagged me in and said, I hope this is the closest Nathan's going to get to the pitch tomorrow, because I played with better pub players.
Some pub team.
You know what I mean? The next day, so he's obviously a passionate fan, he's got his own opinion, that sort of thing, but I just wondered whether or not the next day when I did score the header, whether or not he was singing dancing, do you know what I mean? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. There's just no point in getting sort of caught up in it and reading too much into it, because it just changes like the wind.
Yeah.
So,
I should have taken a picture of you after scoring and tagged him in it. That's
saying exactly that. Yeah, I'd like to see your pub team. I should have, but
you can't do that.
No, exactly.
You can't do that. I've got a couple of questions, quick fire questions. So for you, a whole career, absolute highlight?
2, walking out at Wembley as captain, scoring at Wembley.
Cool. Best player you've played against?
Against Gareth Bale.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And that was directly against, wasn't it? That was
I mean,
right back, left wing.
I've spoken about it since. It was the last game he ever played in the country, so some may say he didn't want to play in England again.
He'd had enough.
Some of them may say that guy was moved to Real Madrid.
Yeah. So, whichever way you want to look at it.
Exactly, this is it.
Like that. Okay, so biggest clown on Portsmouth team?
Clown. I think clown.
Like Joker. Joker.
Probably, without even meaning to, you got a lad called Ollie Hawkins, and I don't even think he means to say some of the stuff he says at half time, but he cracks me up with it. So yeah, it's cool. He reminds me a lot of Lawrence, the goalkeeper. Okay. And they're very similar characters, and both crack me up.
The story about that I got at your wedding from Mike, the sports scientist from Swindon. Did I tell you this?
About Lawrence?
About Lawrence.
Oh, God. No, go on.
So when you went to Dublin for the pre-season tour,
yeah.
and you had a couple of friendlies there, and it was real foggy on your flight back.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So I've got to finish it. So they're flying into, I guess, Bristol or wherever it is you're flying back to, and it's dense, thick fog outside. So suddenly the plane hits, right, and it's a big impact, and Lawrence shouts. For some reason, he's got a super close relationship with Mike, the physio. So he shouts.
Bear in mind, Mike's halfway down the plane, so he's not next to him.
That's the most important bit. So he shouts, Mike, how have we landed in the clouds? And that literally was like a defining moment for me of, okay, this guy, I've got to hang around this guy more this evening, because he was hilarious. So absolutely stunning. And the other one that I got from him was when he went to Barcelona. And so he went on holiday in the summer, and you walk in, you've been to Barcelona?
Yeah. You
walk around and you go through an alleyway, and it opens up into like a square courtyard, and you've got like street performers. So street performers like break dancing or juggling or whatever, and they've got their hat down on the floor and they're taking money, and the crowds are formed, and so he's collected this money or whatever, and Lawrence has looked around, and the crowds are sort of cleared, the guys have cleared off, so he puts his hat down and starts dancing and trying to clapping to get people to come over. And I don't know if he made anything from it, but But this is sort of...
He is a character. He's brilliant.
You need that though on a team, I guess.
Absolutely.
So a long season, you probably need that.
Yeah,
So when you were at Swindon then, who would have played the Ollie Hawkins Joker role, clown role on the Swindon team? Who's the funniest team?
Him, Lawrence.
Was it?
Right. Yeah, he just, as I say, he was absolutely brilliant. And do you know what? Another one that, again, didn't mean to be, but just his stories used to make me crack up was Now Ranger.
Really?
Yeah, just because he was would be the first to admit he made some serious mistakes, and that's probably why he's not in football anymore in a sense. But I remember there was one time we didn't see him for about 2 weeks. He couldn't. Manager would call him, no answer. Just didn't know where Rangers went. And anyway, from nowhere, he texted the manager just saying, "Gaffer, man's this is how he's mentioned that. This is his tweet. Or his text message. Gaffer, man's can't come in today. Man's got a cold." And then sent him a picture message of snot, like his eyes shut and snot coming down his face. He's sending that to the manager of the football club and you just think range and what's going on there? He was just something else. So
That's mad. How was it like playing with him? Because obviously very talented.
Extremely talented, and it really frustrating because he just didn't ever seem to kick with him. He didn't know how good he was. And if he was just able to get his head down, I firmly believe he would be top-end Championship, if not Premier League footballer.
Was it too much too soon? Because he started with Newcastle. Was it just a case of, well, this is it now, I've made it, and then took it for granted?
I don't know.
Mentality?
Possibly. It's so difficult to pinpoint because I had numerous conversations with him, and there would be players with a lot more experience that have played at a lot higher level that have had conversations with him. I'm led to believe that Alan Shearer absolutely loved it. You know what I mean? What more praise do you need than
as a striker
than him loving it? You know what I mean? So it's really disappointing, and I think it's not until he's much older he'll look back on it and think, I was an idiot, I really messed up something good, and realistically he could have been set for life. You know what I mean? So yeah, it is disappointing.
It's a shame. There must be stories like that all over football as well.
Of course.
And there'll be equally stories of players that you kind of go, they didn't have seemingly the talent or God-given gifts that that these top players have, but they made a 15-year career. There's got to be loads of those as well. Good locker room guys and
that's why it always makes me laugh. You see players that have established a Premier League career. I mean, Jordan Henderson's a classic example. Like, these players played in the Premier League for years upon years, and because they're not flashy, they're not in your face. What they do on the pitch is maybe not getting on the highlight reel every week. They don't get the credit they deserve. It's not until you can. I was a Tottenham fan growing up, and I remember not so much criticising, but not really understanding what Scott Parker did. I was just like, what's he on the pitch for? We played against Tottenham in pre-season, and we couldn't get near it. The guy was just untouchable, and you think that's exactly why he's able to play at that level for so long. He may not be flashy, but they're just another league.
Yeah. So you as a Tottenham fan, so who's an absolute hero growing up?
It's a difficult one. I don't think I had I loved watching Luka Modric. And I was probably slightly older then to appreciate him, but maybe understood what he did and how he made things tick over. You just were unable to get near players like him, Berbatov, those sorts of players. Just Ledley King, they were just a class above. And at the time, Spurs certainly weren't as good as they are today. So it was they were sort of shining lights at the time.
Yeah. Do you think they'd be Ajax?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. I think Ajax now. I love what Ajax are doing. To see all the youngsters flourishing and playing is incredible. But I think that something just tells me that Spurs are getting to the final. That's just start. So, and then it's anyone's game.
Yeah. Well, over one game, you never know.
Exactly.
So that is biggest clowns. I was also going to say best player, all players, there's still plural, it's like 3 that you've played with.
Matt Ritchie.
Yeah, he's at Newcastle now.
Yeah. Ridiculous ability. Charlie Austin, another one that's most natural goal scorer that I've come across. I've played alongside.
Now, he might have been in your guys' painting and decorating. He might have been in the pub team.
Yeah.
That guy was talking about.
Yeah, that's
he
a
could
good
have been
point.
in there.
Yeah, that's what I say. Yeah, I can understand that. Mate. Yeah, he was right. And then I have to say a player that's at Portsmouth with now, a guy called Matt Clark. He's 22 years old. I firmly believe he'll play for England.
Yeah.
Like, he's centre half. He's so comfortable with the ball at his feet. It's one of them that, as a defender, you sort of take up positions on the pitch depending on like you're reading the situation. When he's got his ball at his feet, I'm taking up a position high up the pitch because I know that there's no way that he's giving it away. Even if he gets into trouble, he'll get himself out of trouble. He's 22 years old, do you know what I mean? So, like, Portsmouth fans will hate me for saying it, but I firmly believe he'll establish himself there. You think of Harry Maguire and what he's gone on to achieve. I believe Clarkie's a better player than Harry Maguire, and he'll play for England for sure.
It's huge praise.
Yeah.
He's the one that you bit in the face, yeah.
Yeah, I prefer to say that he headed me in the mouth, but yeah, that's all.
It made me laugh. We turned up at a hospital and you've got a beaker full of blood and he's got like a McDonald's sign in his head from your two teeth. So yeah, brilliant. And I couldn't believe when they brought the fans in to meet you at that day as well.
Yeah, no, it's
Opportunity.
This is it.
Opportunity knocks. Nate, that's we've done nearly an hour here, and I've monopolised your time for long enough. So thank you for coming to see me and for taking the time to do it. It's been a chance to kind of open up 5-minute radio interviews. People don't really get to know you, so it's nice to sit and chat and see what makes you tick. And I've absolutely loved it. So thank you.